So hi everyone. My name is Juan. I'm the associate minister at Unity on the Bay in Miami, Florida. I actually grew up in Catholicism and I went to all Catholic schools, had my nuns and the priests teaching me the ways of being in the world. And unfortunately also, telling me that parts of me weren't necessarily sacred or worthy of God's love and that some of that needed to change. And so when I first started recognizing that I was part of the LGBTQ community, there was some guilt and shame that I had to move through. Fortunately for me, though, quite honestly, it was a pretty comfortable space for me to start questioning what I had been taught and how that really sat with me and what it meant for my own relationship with God. I was always very much a part of campus ministry and knowing that there was a deep connection between me and God. I remember looking up what the history of the church was with LGBTQ people and finding out that at the beginning of church, actually, there were same-sex couples who would be able to come into a sacred union under the blessing of God, under the blessing of the church, and that it was part of their own spiritual journey to be able to do that.
So you never really threw God out along your path because that's what happened to me. My experience was Catholic church that I was like, screw you all, I'm out of here. And then I had to find my way back to God and back to spirituality. So you never kind of stopped walking in your relationship with God, right?
I didn't. I think for me, the most challenging part was some of the anger that I was holding in more with my family as I was coming out. And that may have, I think that's really where my anger, my hurt was coming from. I remember coming out in high school to the campus ministry director, Mr. Maloney, who I had a total crush on. Of course. And he was one of the first adults that I told that I was gay. And he said to me, actually, that there was a difference between the religious institution and the religious teachings and the people and the philosophy. And that the philosophy, I was going to a Marianist Catholic school, that the philosophy was really about God loving all of us and us being a part of God's love, an expression of love, and that there was a place at the table for me.
What made you move from that religion and that form of spirituality that you were raised in, and then into the New Thought world and Unity?
I had heard about Unity on the Bay here in Miami. I had heard about our choir. I had heard about the minister. And I went a couple of times, but I still wasn't ready or I wasn't sure, And so anyways, I was volunteering at this gay rights organization. We were fighting the repeal of a human rights ordinance that was inclusive. The minister from Unity on the Bay showed up to the office and gave a check and said, here's part of our tithe. You are doing the work that we believe in. We believe in diversity. We believe in everybody having value, and we believe in equality. And as soon as that happened, I said, wait a minute, it's not just the message, right? Like, it's not just what I'm hearing there. It's not what I'm feeling. They are supporting the values that I support. And so it was a no-brainer in that moment to just say yes to that church, that spiritual center, and then want more of it.
As you reflect back, what are some of the blessings that you would not have had this perfection not occurred?
Is it okay to say my sexy husband?
Oh, God. You can say anything you want here, baby. Your sexy husband and everything else that got you there.
I think the biggest gift I think that being gay gave me is that it was different or I felt different from what I was being told was normal. And as soon as I realized that normal wasn't necessarily better, it opened up so much for me, because the moment that I questioned what I had been taught in religion, right, about who I was, and I was able to move past it, it was like, all right, well, what else have I learned from my family? What else have I learned from religion, from the different institutions and groups of people that have been around me? And do I really believe those things? Or was I just sort of like pretending? And so I feel like I'm just much more liberated.
many LGBTQIA plus people have had a lot of pain around family of origin. And you mentioned you referenced a piece of that. Share a little bit about that, if you would.
Well, it was a tough road. My parents found out. My mom was visiting me in college, and I thought I had cleaned up my room and my apartment as well as I could. And what I didn't do was put away The Advocate magazine. She started calling it porn, just because it was about LGBT people. Woke me up in the middle of the night. I had a huge walk-in closet in that apartment. So she asked me to go into the closet to then throw the magazines at me and ask me if it was true that I was gay. And so I actually came out to my mom
In the closet?
my walk-in closet.
Oh, she went for the high drama.
Oh, it was in me,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, but and then I called my dad. She made me call my dad, and I came out, and they were lost because, quite honestly, they also had believed what they had been taught, right? And they needed to come to terms with that, and was it true for them? And so it was a challenging journey for me. Part of my spiritual journey has also been just recognizing that I've had to create boundaries. Part of owning who I was and knowing that I was sacred and worthy was saying, like, well, I want to be treated that way. And so for about 3 years, I wouldn't speak to my father because he just wasn't able to recognize that. And it was hurtful and it was painful, but we got through it. I remember when Tom and I, my husband and I, got engaged, we let the family know. And actually that was part of the shift for my dad. Something in him, like, it was almost like he had to, like, just realize that this is the way it's going to be. And I think also part of him realized and saw that, in unity, we are affirming, we are welcoming, we celebrate our diversity. And it gave him a little bit of comfort to know that there was this religious, spiritual community that was saying it's okay, that was saying that it's quite all right and it's actually wonderful.
What do you see for the LGBTQIA plus world? What's the edge? What do you think is a part of who we're becoming, or what's calling us to our next expansion?
We're learning even more deeply just how powerful of a group of people we are. And I think that the greatest opportunity that we have is to also recognize that that power comes from a place of knowing ourselves spiritually, becoming more comfortable with who we are as spiritual beings, and leaning on that, right? And leaning on that spiritual understanding of ourselves as worthy and sacred. And through that, not only is it changing other people's minds, changing laws, changing rights, but it's changing us, really embodying who we are fully, wholly.